The F11 and F28 codes in air conditioning systems can have different meanings depending on the manufacturer of the equipment. For example, for HIR and York manufacturers, the meanings of these codes are very similar. The F28 code means that the station loop detects an error, indicating that the IPM electronic module did not detect the compressor winding. This problem can occur if, when the equipment is turned on, some compressor cable is not correctly installed. Another reason that generates the F28 code is incorrect connections, either in the compressor or on the main board, concerning the UVW order. Another cause of the F28 code is when the connection cables between the board and the compressor are burned or disconnected. On the other hand, the F11 error code is defined by HIR and York manufacturers as a deviation from the normal behavior of the compressor. This means that the external main board, although connected to the compressor, and the external electronic module can detect the compressor winding, but for some reason, it cannot make the compressor work. In many cases, this is because the compressor winding is so weak that it cannot start the refrigerant flow, or the compressor is mechanically stuck. To resolve the above issues, the following steps are recommended. 1. Disconnect the equipment from the electricity for several minutes, turn it back on, and check if the error reappears. 2. Check the connections and cable quality in the compressor and the external electronic board. 3. With a multimeter set to the AC voltage scale, check the correct voltage from the external power supply. 4. Disconnect the compressor from the external electronic board. Measure with a multimeter the resistance value between the compressor coils. The ohm values between pairs should be almost equal and never infinite. 5. Ensure there is high resistance between each compressor pin and its casing to rule out current leakage. 6. Check the continuity in the tracks of the external electronic board from the IPM electronic module to the compressor cable outlet. 7. If the system manages to start, check the voltage supply at the IPM module output pins and its ground. For General Electric, the F28 error code refers to overload problems in the indoor unit fan. Check for fan shaft blockage due to bearing issues, and ensure correct power supply to the fan motor. For Panasonic, the F11 error code indicates a problem with switching between cooling and heating modes. Essentially, the system has trouble determining whether to cool or heat. This is mainly due to problems with the temperature sensors or a malfunction in the switching mechanism. It is recommended to check the temperature sensors of the equipment and the power supply to the four-way valve responsible for switching the unit from cooling to heating mode. Regardless of the type of temperature sensor causing the problem, the diagnostic and correction procedure follows the same steps. A. Disconnect the equipment from the power supply for several minutes. Then, turn the equipment back on and check if the fault code persists. B. Visually inspect the position of the temperature sensor. C. Visually check the sensor connection and the connection to both the external and internal electronic modules. D. Use a multimeter to check the electrical resistance of the sensor. Disconnect the sensor and measure its resistance with the multimeter set to the kiloohm scale. E. If you have the sensor's resistance and temperature chart, compare the measured value with the chart values. If you don't have the chart, measure the resistance while rubbing the sensor with your hand. The resistance should decrease. F. The resistance value should never be 0 or infinite. G. With the sensor connected and the electronic board powered on, measure the voltage supplied by the board, with the multimeter set to the DC voltage scale. This value should be around 2.5 volts.